Excellency Professor Dr. Amara Pongsapic, representative of Thailand to ICHA. Excellency Dr. Professor Dr. Aisha Biden, representative of Malaysia to the ICHA. Representative from ASEAN sectoral bodies, representative from international organizations, development partners, civil society, organizations, and academic institutions. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. I would like to start by thanking Excellencies and all our distinguished colleagues for attending the ICHR Regional Dialogue, sharing good practices on business and human rights and recovery from the COVID-19 in ASEAN. I would like to commend the exemplary effort of ICHR Thailand and ICHR Malaysia for successfully organizing this regional dialogue in close collaboration with the ACHR, with the support from the Human Rights Division of ASEAN Secretariat, as well as the National Human Rights Commission. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, what we have witnessed since the outbreak of the COVID-19 in 2019 is unprecedented, and up until now, we continue to feel its catastrophic impact as it severely affects our economy, hinder development, and harshly alter our societal structure. As we tackle the challenging feat of building back our society, the necessity to bring experts and relevant stakeholders for meaningful discussion to enhance the understanding of how business practices can create opportunities for the protection and promotion of human rights is imperative. I am confident that this regional dialogue will lead to transformative outcomes in advancing sustainable development and recovery by identifying mitigation and prevention approaches against business adverse impact on human rights. Building on ASEAN existing regional framework such as the ASEAN Comprehensive Recovery Framework, the consolidating strategy on the fourth industrial revolution for ASEAN, and the ASEAN Economic Community Blueprint 2025, a master plan to further deepen economic integration and achieve a more integrated economic community, ASEAN has been able to maintain the nexus between business practices and human rights over the past years. The regional framework has provided ASEAN with a clear narrative on how the ASEAN community intends to advance sustainable and inclusive development, progress digital transformation, and embrace new technologies in the COVID-19 recovery context for the benefit of ASEAN economy and the wider society. Recognizing the need to promote a holistic approach and consolidate effort through roadmap to further promote business and human rights in the region, ICHR has produced the 5-year work plan of ICHR 2021 to 2025 that include indicative activity on business and human rights such as 1. Indicative activity 2.5.1 regional consultation to share experiences on promoting the UNGP in ASEAN, and 2. Initiative to share best practices on business and human rights. Previous ICHR activity on business and human rights include ICHR in collaboration with Australian Human Rights Commission holding a joint workshop on corporate social responsibilities, regional workshop and consultation on business and human rights in ASEAN, ICHR thematic study on corporate social responsibility and human rights, workshop on corporate social responsibility on human rights in ASEAN, outcome of the ICHR thematic study, seminar on promoting corporate social responsibility and human rights in ASEAN, regional workshop on business and human rights moving ahead with National Action Plan in ASEAN. ICHA training programs on business and human rights. ICHA inter-regional dialogue sharing good practices on business and human rights. The essential of human rights due diligence in business, a training for ASEAN institutions. ASEAN is placing great emphasis on ensuring sustainability to be further embedded into the corporate governance framework as it encourages business to consider environmental, social, human, and economic impact in their business decision to focus on long-term sustainable value creation. Competitive sustainability will contribute to the COVID-19 recovery and to the long-term resilience and development of businesses. In this regard, ICHA strongly believes in good practices that implement the United Nations Guiding Principle on Business and Human Rights (UNGP), such as introducing legislative regime to encourage companies in carrying out human rights due diligence or developing a national action plan to realize goals on business and human rights. ICHA called for enhancing collective action to tackle system challenges and at the same time promote coherent and alignment in standard development on business and human rights in ASEAN. As evidence, some examples of the good practice can be seen in Indonesia in 2015. The Indonesian government introduced a new regulation designed to create a human rights certification system for Indonesian fishing enterprises wishing to cooperate in Indonesian waters. This was followed up in early 2017 with a regulation on fishery human rights certification requirement and mechanism which require fishing industry operator to put in place and maintain a human rights policy and a due diligence and remediation system to address cases of human rights violation. Thailand, the first National Action Plan on Business and Human Rights 2019 to 2022 of Thailand provide a strategic framework, operational measure, and an action plan, as well as develop a mechanism to implement and contextualize the UNGP at the country level. As the pandemic further compound the economic and social landscape with poverty and inequality that disproportionately affect vulnerable groups, we need a coherent approach in mainstreaming human rights and business activity as they are mutually reinforcing and complementary. In recognizing this and keeping up the momentum, ASEAN and ICHA remain committed and in full support to collaborate in upholding the UNGP in ASEAN toward enhancing stakeholder engagement, tracking the progress, and international cooperation and implementation. On this note, I urge Excellencies and distinguished delegates to actively and meaningfully engage in this regional dialogue, filled with excellent representatives, experts, practitioners, and stakeholders to strengthen the promotion and implementation of the UNGP in ASEAN and beyond. In closing, let me convey my thanks to ICHA Thailand and ICHA Malaysia, along with the distinguished speakers and moderators and ASEAN Secretariat for relentlessly supporting the work of ICHA toward the promotion of the implementation of the UNGP in conjunction with recovery effort from the COVID-19 pandemic. I would like to thank the representatives from all relevant stakeholders in supporting this endeavor as well. I wish Excellency, distinguished delegates, a productive discussion in the two-day session ahead. With this note, I commence the ICHA Regional Dialogue sharing good practices on business and human rights recovery from COVID-19 in ASEAN. Thank you for your attention.